Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Yvonne Armenta and I'm your host for all things Chats with Yvonne. On this YouTube channel, I talk about public speaking because I love it and I want to help you love it too. I give you tips, I do some ASMR style videos, I post my podcast on here. So if you're into any of that kind of stuff, please feel free to subscribe. It really helps my channel out. In today's video, we are going to react to Gabriel Zamora's video on how to gain confidence. Now, confidence is something that we oftentimes link to public speaking, and oftentimes I'll hear people say, I just lack the confidence. I just lack the confidence. And my theory on it is that my belief on confidence is not that we lack confidence, is that it's more that in our day-to-day, we don't necessarily do the things to cultivate that confidence that then lead to this bigger that show up when we are public speaking. So I thought it'd be fun to do a reaction video because I have talked a lot about confidence over on Chats with Yvonne on Instagram and through TikTok. And I even had this whole segment where at the end of my lives, I would ask people, how do you define confidence? And a lot of people have many different answers for those. So if you want to check any of that out, please head over to my Instagram account and follow us there. So this video is titled How to Become Confident, and I am going to react to it from the perspective of public speaking. So I have not watched the video and we'll be watching it all together here and reacting. So let's go ahead and get started. There's a car. I think I have my windows open because it's hot in here, but let's go ahead and get started.
As a man who wears makeup, trust me, I picked up a lot of tips and tricks on how to build and work on my confidence. And I hope that with today's video, it can at least help one of y'all start your journey with building your own confidence. Confidence, it's a very tricky and interesting subject because I think a lot of people think that you're either born with it or you're not. So let's define what.
Sorry, I know I'm stopping it pretty quick into the video, but I love what he said there in that, or they said there in that confidence seems to be something that people are either born with or not, right? It's almost like a natural born thing. A lot of people think that about public speaking as well. They think, sorry, I thought I was recording for a second. They think people that are really good at public speakers, they're natural born speakers, and there's people that just aren't made for this, right? No, I think we can build ourselves up to being great public speakers. In fact, in many cases, we already are. We just haven't cultivated our skill set enough to really see that in ourselves. No one is born being a great public speaker. You develop the skill set. You develop all of that through time and through experience. Let's keep going.
Confidence is a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. So for this video, I'm kind of breaking it down in 3 really easy steps. There's a physical type of confidence where you can be very confident in the way that you look, in the way that you present yourself, or in certain physical qualities that you may have. Then there is a confidence that comes from your mind and being confident as to who you are as a person. And then at the very end, I'll be giving you my favorite piece of advice that I got when it came to confidence and how it really basically like revolutionized my perspective and idea as to confidence. So first, let's start off with physical confidence.
So he does mention 3 things. I think he only kind of mentioned 2 things here, but physical confidence. As a public speaker, you want to wear something that not only is comfortable for you, but you feel good in. I think oftentimes we think of professionalism as being this, I have to wear a button-up shirt with slacks and flats or heels that aren't too high, but figure out what makes you feel good. And confidence does come from what you wear and making sure that you can easily move across a stage. You don't want to be stumbling in awkward ass heels, right? So that part, physical, also very much aligns with public speaking. And the mental, right? I have an affirmations podcast where I talk about how affirmations have really helped me get through my nerves and my anxieties around public speaking. And it's no different with confidence, right? So the mental and your mental state of being really do play a huge part in how you show up as a public speaker, and affirmations are a really incredible way of tuning into that part of yourself.
You can tell I do have some hyperpigmentation. I did have some breakouts. I have hyperpigmentation from some eczema outbreaks that I had on my face. I have some swelling here because I had my wisdom teeth removed. And honestly, getting my wisdom teeth removed was a very interesting process because my face swelled. And I was like, whoa, interesting. I remember when I was a lot younger, my physical appearance, if it wasn't always the best, it would really mess with my confidence. And seeing myself all swollen with like all this discoloration really made me realize that I've come a long way. One of my favorite physical things that I could do to help with my physical confidence has always been makeup. As y'all know, I love makeup. I'm obsessed with makeup. I have so much makeup because I truly do love it. Not only in its artistic format, but as well as in how it helps you present yourself to the world. Whether it be going shopping, whether it be going on a date, going to an event, going out with friends, having a night out on the town, or maybe recording a YouTube video. I think for me, my favorite thing is always looking my best me with makeup. So that leads us into today's video sponsor. Today, we will be talking about the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place.
And we're gonna skip through
makeup.
this. That being said, though, I know I'm skipping through the part where he's talking about the makeup and the foundation. As a woman that wears makeup, it has taken me forever, and I don't think that I still even know my actual color and what works for me. But I've always said this. I'm somebody that does makeup but doesn't really do makeup. Anytime I've done a get ready with me, any kind of that kind of stuff, I always say I'm somebody that does makeup because I like the way maybe my skin looks with a little bit of foundation on. I like to have a little bit of blush that doesn't come naturally to me, right? But I don't really know how to do makeup. I do the basics, but it makes me feel more confident. Like right now, I feel okay. I feel good, right? I like the way my eyebrows look. I like the way that this lipstick makes me feel. I even love the colors that I'm wearing. These earrings, by the way, are from Eres Una Maravilla over on Instagram, a little tiendita that celebrates our cultura. These are handmade by Paulina, and they are super freaking beautiful. And I'll be featuring a couple of the earrings that I got from her in all of my other videos because I just think they're really great. But to the point, if you do wear makeup when you go up on stage, I know as a public speaker, for example, you have probably noticed or have heard someone say they overdo it with the blush, right? They'll go crazy and put a ton of blush, and to the naked eye, to somebody looking at you straight at you, it's like, girl, that is way too much blush, right? But when you're up on stage, you do get a little washed out by all of the lights and whatnot. So it's a good idea to add a little bit more, whatever you feel comfortable with, right? And to that point, I think growing up, and I plan on doing a separate video on this, but growing up, I was really expressive with how I dressed. And I found that over time, I started to become more basic, which is why I wear a ton of black. And I think these things, like the pops of color that I do have, are my way of keeping that side of me that I know is still within me. So whatever makes you feel confident on stage, please continue to wear that. Your makeup, make sure that you understand how the makeup will look if you care about that kind of stuff.
We all have physical insecurities, and the journey to getting over them is very personal and it takes time. When it comes to physical insecurities, and especially with me, I realized that I couldn't just allow it to just dictate my life so much. I had to really look internally and really understand that my value came more from who I am as a person, how I treat others, how I treat my loved ones, how I treat my family and my friends, strangers. If I could tell you one thing, remember that physical beauty fades. Okay, it fades. So please don't try to gain all your confidence from the way that you look, because it will go away. I'm not always gonna look like how I looked like when I was 20. I mean, with my double wear foundation, my skin will. But if I could suggest anything, then it comes to kind of really gaining some sort of physical confidence is pick 3 qualities within yourself that you love about yourself or that you like. I think that we need to find what we find in ourselves as beautiful and how we can define our own beauty. Even if you can't come up with 3, if you can come up with 1 physical trait that you love about yourself or that you like about yourself, that's a great starting point.
I love that. I really love that advice and those suggestions. Thinking and writing down 3 things that you really love about your personal appearance. When you feel confident in what you're wearing, I'm thinking from the perspective of a stage, being up on stage, right? There were moments, and I recall feeling like this dress really shows my lonka. And I remember thinking I didn't feel as confident. And you know what that leads to is you using your body almost to shield that imperfection that you see or that you feel is so explicitly seen by everybody else when nobody else gives a shit, right? But what it does to you physically when you're up on stage and what your body language begins to communicate is this more inward kind of, I realized when I looked back at videos is I'm a little bit more slouched over. I tend to speak a little faster. My hands even start to move faster when I don't feel physically confident in what I'm wearing or I have some sort of insecurity. I walk different. I don't necessarily walk confidently across the stage. I more so stay in one place and don't really move because in my head when I'm on stage, if I don't move as much, they won't notice the lonka as much, right? No. Not that they notice it in the first place, by the way. But I really like this idea of choosing 3 things that you really love about yourself, about your physical self, right? In this moment, we're talking about physical, but I want to challenge you to write 3 things down that you love about yourself as a speaker. When you speak, what emotions do you really love that you portray? What ways of moving your body do you find that are really personal to your identity as a public speaker? For me, it's moving my hands. I move my hands when I speak because I feel like it brings people closer to me. It allows a personal connection with my audience. I can physically, right? I am signaling and I am bringing people into what I am saying. That is my number one thing that I love about myself. And where in many years I've heard you move your hands too much or that can make you look clownish. Using my hands is not only what makes me me and makes my way of storytelling unique, and not that anybody else doesn't move their hands, right? But the way that I personally do it is my own unique style and it defines me as a public speaker. The other thing that I love about myself is that I make eye contact with multiple people across the audiences. I remember when I first started off, I was really nervous about everything. And I recall feeling just really nervous and being like, I'm not going to look at anybody, at any single one person. I'm just going to look at objects around the room that don't necessarily that I can't make eye contact with people. That's essentially what I wanted to avoid. Now I love it and I enjoy it. And again, it's a part of the personal connection. So overall, I'd say that the physical parts of myself when I'm up on stage that I love and that I think bring me closer to my audience are my hand movements and my eye contact with people, the way that I physically move across the stage. Those would be my top 3. So I challenge you to write 3 things down that you really love about the way that you communicate with your body, because body language in our body is a form of communication as well.
Look in that mirror and really hype yourself up. Hype yourself up. But if I can give you that one tip, it's going to be patience. It's not going to be an overnight thing. Like I said, you can teach yourself to be confident, but it takes patience. So if you can be patient with it, trust me, you'll get there. You'll fully get there. Another really great approach to confidence is your mental approach to confidence. Because like I keep saying, confidence isn't something you're born with. It is something you can learn. It is something that is taught. It is something that you work on. So the next step in confidence is really like your image, like how you look at yourself. I think that's a very important approach. Not only in how you look at yourself physically, but the way you look at yourself as a person, the way you look at yourself as a person in the society. I myself derive a lot of my confidence from my personality. Like I really like my personality. I've worked a lot on it to really just be charismatic, try to be funny, try to be a very people person. And I like it so much that I put it on the internet. I put myself on the internet. But not only do I, as somebody who is on the internet, but somebody like you watching this, you really have to gauge as to how you can filter messages about you and find out what's good and what's bad. So I get it to a very large degree scale. I get a lot of people that tell me, oh, I really like this about you, or I don't like this about you. Like, if you can really be confident as to who you are as a person, trust me, like, a random stranger can't break you down. A random comment on the internet is not going to be able to break you down. So work on how to build up that character of who you are internally.
I love this. As I mentioned right at the beginning, affirmations are huge in how I became the public speaker that I am today and how I can communicate with people and try to bring my most authentic self to every speaking engagement that I have. Now, this is really only possible through affirmations, like I mentioned. And what he's tapping into past affirmations here and really loving yourself. It's a self-love, right? It's this unconditional love for who you are and what you bring to the table. What he's tapping, or what they're tapping into, excuse me, sorry, I don't know if he goes by, or they go by he, them pronouns. What they point to here is super important in that you want to internalize that love for yourself. Because when someone else doesn't love you, it doesn't bother you. When you're on stages where people in the audience or even people on that same stage don't look like you, it doesn't faze you because you know what you bring to the table. Affirmations are an incredibly important part of that. And I encourage you to check out the Ponte Perra Affirmations podcast that I have. I really tap into both affirmations, but the second step being reflection. Reflection is so important in how you become to internalize these affirmations. So it's one thing to say, I am powerful, I love myself, my voice is powerful, my voice matters. And it's a completely different thing to actually believe those things. So the practice that we do over on my podcast is we say the affirmation and we go through the list of affirmations because that's sometimes what we need, right? That's the surface level affirmation that we need in that moment. But we take it a step further and reflect. We convert that phrase, that positive affirmation, into a question. And if your answer is no to the positive affirmation, you want to dig deeper and understand the whys. Because then when you can understand, why do I feel like I can't be a good public speaker? Why do I feel like I am not the expert in my field? We can start to unpack the variety, the diverse things that are actually embedded within that one question. And then it is that you can start to build confidence around that and really internalize that affirmation because you understand where your insecurities or your doubt is actually coming from. You don't know what you don't know, and you can't work on what you can't identify.
Find out who you believe you are. Really work on that. Like, I'm an amazing son. I'm an amazing friend. I'm an amazing brother. I'm an amazing beauty influencer. I'm amazing at so many things because I myself tell myself these things. Because you really have to ask yourself, how do I define myself? Do I tell myself that I'm ugly? Do I tell myself that I'm short? Do I tell myself that I'm not good enough? Do I tell myself these things?
Sorry, I know I paused a lot, but I agree with this. Self-talk goes back to affirmations. And to take it a step further, I'd want you maybe to consider, how are you talking to yourself as a public speaker? I always say this, and that is that we actually engage the art of public speaking a lot more often than we think. And so when you are out in the field or wherever it is, when you are given the opportunity to speak, are you right away thinking, oh, but I suck at public speaking? Are you vocalizing that? Are you even saying that to other people, right? Is it leaving your mind and your voice to actually go out into the world and other people are hearing what you're saying? And sometimes I think we do this and it's self-sabotage, right? But sometimes we do it as a way of if I have an opportunity to speak, we say, oh, but I get really nervous. Oh my gosh, I suck so bad at public speaking, almost as a way to kind of lower people's expectations. I know that I've definitely done this in the past before when I was like, oh, but I don't know if I'm that good at it, because it's like, if you're expecting me to be good at it and then I end up sucking, then at least I told you about it, right? That in and of itself is poor self-talk. that does not help us in becoming more confident as public speakers. So what he's saying here about, or what they're saying here, so sorry, keep doing that shit. What they're saying here about confidence and self-talk is really, really important too when you translate over to how you show up as a public speaker. What are you saying about yourself as a public speaker? How are you actually vocalizing the things, your insecurities around public speaking? And I know some of us may think this, some of us may not, but words are incredibly powerful. And when you put that out into the world, you begin to internalize it even more.
So you're going to have to reprogram how you speak to yourself. You have to reprogram that so that you're telling yourself these positive things. Even if you do think that you're a lazy person, don't say that. Don't say, I'm lazy. Say, I'm working on becoming a more efficient, more punctual, more consistent person. If you say that and you say that you're working towards that, that's a lot better than just saying that you're lazy. So don't let yourself tear yourself down. Your biggest cheerleader should be you. It truly should always be you. Always make sure that you are your number one person in your corner, cheering yourself on the loudest, cheering yourself on the longest. If you rely on other people's approval, other people's validation, it's great. A lot of people do. But the moment that that goes away, so does your confidence. So if you can say that you create that messaging in your own head, then you'll be able to take on the world because you'll always have you as your biggest cheerleader with you at all times.
I love this. I do also say all the time that getting better at public speaking and doing things in community is always so much better. You just feel so much love, and it just feels like you can conquer the world when you have a community backing you up. But the individual side of that community, right? You don't want to come into a community with all of these insecurities and taking from that community and being the one person that maybe is like, I don't know shit, right? And then you expect your community to back you up and be like, no, you do know shit, right? That's not how that works either, right? You don't want to take. You also want to be able to give. You want to be able to come into that community with a healthy mindset about who you are, an understanding of I'm healing and we're all healing through this and we're all doing it together. But yes, at the end of the day, I still love myself, and I love myself so much that I'm going to talk to myself like I love myself. I'm going to talk to myself the way that I talk to people of my community, the people that I love the most. Because yes, at the end of the day, we should love ourselves. We spend the most time with ourselves. When we're practicing for public speaking engagement, I practice by myself most of the time. Unless I think it's been maybe when I was in college and I was doing group presentations, or I was doing a presentation and I had a roommate that I could present to and practice with. Maybe I did it then. But even in public speaking, most of the time you are going to be practicing by yourself. So you want to make sure that while you're practicing your public speaking, that you are also at the same time being your biggest cheerleader and saying, I'm nervous as hell about this. I am hella nervous. I don't know how it's going to go, but I am practicing and I'm doing my best to show up as the most authentic, most poised public speaker that I can be. Also, don't worry about me cussing in front of the Virgencita. Like, she's the homie. She knows what's up.
I love makeup. I truly love makeup. Like, it's honestly cliche because it honestly works, and it is fake it till you make it. Like, to be quite honest, like, just fake it till you make it. Be delusional. Like, forget about what anybody else said. Like, forget about reality and all these things. Be delusional. Fake it.
I love this. Be delusional. You know what? A lot of people say, no, don't fake it till you make it. Like, know your stuff and whatever. But there have been many times in my life when I have bullshitted. And I bullshitted so hard that I was like, damn, I said those words? Like, that actually sounded really good. Honestly, faking it, as it says, till you make it, has been one of the ways that you gain confidence, because when you're faking it till you make it in that moment, you are just not even thinking about what you're saying. I mean, you can be, you are, obviously you're conscious of it, but you're almost less self-conscious, and you let out things. You're like, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm going to act like I do, right? So what ends up happening is, this has happened to me before, where I didn't know how to answer something, and in the spot you come up with an answer, right? Like during a Q&A, and then I rewatched, because it was recorded, I rewatched it and I was like, damn, like I said all that. And that gives you confidence, right? And when you act like it, you become it. And I think that that is a really good place to actually stop. I thought this was a fun segment because I talk a lot about confidence as it pertains to public speaking, and it is something that over time we should and we have to cultivate in order to show up like we want to as public speakers, as our most authentic selves. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I think Gabriel Zamora has incredible ways of becoming more confident, and I love how they specifically gave us action items for these things. And I hope that in conjunction with those pieces of advice and drawing connections to the art of public speaking, you can start to tap into the art of public speaking a little bit more and talk to yourself and be your biggest fan, your biggest public speaking fan, and tap into your skill set as a public speaker. Thank you so much for being with me today. I am so thankful that you spent some time today tapping into the art of public speaking and beginning to love public speaking a little bit more through this video. As I mentioned in the beginning, please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this content and lets me know that you want more of this kind of stuff. If you want to stick around for other public speaking content and just fun overall content, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button wherever it shows up on your screen, wherever you're watching. I'd really appreciate it, and it helps support the channel and make sure that other people can also see this content. And of course, speak your mind in the comments. Let me know what you liked, what you thought about this video, what you're going to try out, and how you talk to yourself. Do you practice affirmations actually? And have you listened to the Ponte Perra Affirmations podcast? So with that, thank you so much again for being here. I really, truly appreciate it, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, everybody.